after the address of Honorable Prime Minister. And our theme is extending social security welfare to the platform workers. So I have a very honorable list of panelists for this session. I take honor to introduce them briefly before we actually start towards the presentation on the social security scheme for the welfare of platform workers. First and foremost, we have Mr. Ajay Samasar, Joint Secretary, who is a career bureaucrat and IAS of a Punjab cadre. He has been uh, handling very crucial appointments under government of Punjab, including as Health Secretary. And his inputs on this particular issue, extending health benefits to the platform workers, will be an additional advantage, sir. Welcome to the session. We also have Mr. Ramesh Kailasam, who is the CEO of uh, and President of IndiaTech.org. Uh, he has been an expert in technology services, industry association, industry body, and think tank, which he has set up by founders and investors from the Indian startup ecosystem to enable strategic direction, ways of doing business, and thought leadership through key government policies that will benefit Indian startups and further entrepreneurship, innovation, livelihood, and wealth creation in India. He has around more than 27 years of experience in governance and policy reforms. He has also been part of various advisory boards to the various state governments and central government. Welcome, sir, to this session. We also have with us Mr. Abhay Mathur, uh, who is the CFO of Urban Company, one of the startups and leading one of the leading country's leading platforms. He has also experiences in finance, supply chain operations, commercial management. He has also been part of our geek committee. I forgot to mention Ramesh Kailasam sir was also part of our entire journey. So welcome, sir, to this session. Our fourth panelist is Mrs. Ashwarya Raman, with very distinguished in her field. She is the executive director of OMI Foundation Trust. She has MSc in sociology from the University of Oxford, the prestigious Oxford University. At OMI Foundation, she leads a team of sustainability researchers and policy professionals who work with union and state governments alike on energy, mobility, livelihood, and technology transitions. She has also been very part of our journey and part of various committees set up by the ministry to decide a framework for the social security of the gig and platform workers. Welcome, madam, to the session. We also have with us today Mr. Ajit Pai, with partner, Ernst & Young. He's strategy and lead partner, and he has several experiences working with, advising government bodies, government organizations. He's also chairman of Delhi Urban Art Commission. He has also previously being a distinguished expert with the Niti Aayog. So he carries vast experience, and I'm sure that with his participation in today's session will be greatly benefited while deliberating on the issue of social security for the platform workers. Welcome, sir, to the session. We also have with another very distinguished panelist, Mrs. Sarayu Natarajan, who is the founder of Bharti Institute. She has a very distinguished academic career, had her master's, PhD from King's College London, and also from School of International and Public Affairs, Columbia University. She has several papers, reports, and involvement in key issues like platform economy, AI, employment, and has also, been teaching in various educational institutions. I'm sure that her expertise will also be very helpful in, addressing some key challenges, key issues that we are facing today as far as extending social welfare scheme to the platform workers is concerned. Welcome, madam, to the session. We have with us ladies and gentlemen, Professor Vanali Bhandari, professor from the National Council of Applied Economic Research. She has this very rare experience of conducting herself a survey on the platform sector, particularly the delivery platform workers. I'm sure that her expertise will also be very, very helpful. She has also been advising us in various committees of the ministry set up for the on the platform economy. Welcome, madam, to the session. We have with us Mr. Sheikh Salahuddin Saab, who is the National General Secretary of IFAT, Indian Federation of App-Based Transport Workers. He has been very, I'll request to switch on his camera. Yes, he is there. So welcome, sir. And he has been very active voice of workers working in the platform sector. He is also the founding president of Telangana Gig and Platform Workers Union. He has been consistently a member of our gig committee set up by the ministry to advise the government on the social security scheme for the platform workers. Welcome, sir, to this SQ. Last but not the least, Ms. Mariko Uchi, who is a senior specialist on social protection from the International Organization ILO. She is really a specialist. We have been interacting with her quite often, and she has also been part of our GIG committee. She has been a senior social protection specialist at the State for South Asia, based on ILO Decent Work Technical Support Scheme. She sits in Delhi now, but she has also been in technical advisory service for countries like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Previously also, she has experience working in Moscow on similar issues, also in Budapest, Hungary. So I welcome you, Mariko, to this session. I am hopeful that with the expertise of this rich Ayush, yes, Ayush, I'm sorry, Ayush, you are there, yes. Ayush is a very active industry partner in our journey, sir. My apologies. Somehow I I could not locate you in the screen as I was looking at my papers. So welcome, Ayush. You have been part of journey. I mean, I don't think you need very strong introduction of yours. You have been part of our journey. You have been consistently in our committee and very productively contributing. And ministry is really very indebted for your contribution. Welcome you to this session. I am hopeful that the participation, very active participation of all our guests today will be very helpful in addressing the issues that we are facing in extending social security scheme for the welfare of online platform workers. So with that, I request General Secretary Sir to set the context so that we'll move forward in this discussion. Sir.
A very good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists. And as we have heard the bios of all of you, it's such an impressive gathering. And I'm sure that today's panel discussion would help us better implement the scheme. Also, there are a lot of attendees here. They may be having their questions, and I'm sure that panelists will be able to quench their curiosity, and as a part, as an outcome of these discussions, it will be helpful for us to kind of further, I would say, improvise, or I would say further fine tune our team. That is the So I would request our director, Mr. P.K. Jaina, to kindly give a presentation about the sector, as well as about the announcement made in the budget 25-26, and he will also kind of outline some of the expectations which can be discussed among the panelists. So over to you, Dr. Jaina.
Thank you, sir. So to start with the presentation, next will be briefly This is basically as an extension of the country setting set by sir. Next. So we'll be discussing briefly about the India's booming gig and platform economy, the global landscape, challenges faced by the platform workers, what are the government initiatives in past several months, and of course about the latest union budget announcements. Next. So there is, as you know, the emergence of new technology, which is bringing change in the world of work, for which there is a rise of digital platforms and apps across various sectors. There is a shift towards flexibility in work. People want to come out of the traditional work setup of 8, 10 hours, and they want flexibility in time. And This is also leading to evolving business models. So as per this study conducted by the Niti Aayog, we had around 7.7 million gig workers in 2021, which is expected to grow to 23.5 million by 2030. In fact, as we sit here today, sir, the contribution of the gig economy to our GDP is around 1.25%, which is promising and will be actually going further in coming year. Next. So, so this is the global landscape. There are three different trends as we have analyzed the country experiences. The first trend is that there are countries, developed countries like Australia, Germany, Spain, Switzerland, who have designated gig workers as formal employees. Leading them more towards formalization. But there is also a trend in countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, where they have improvised their existing policies. They have brought in few social security schemes to benefit the gig and platform workers working in this sector. But there is also a third trend of countries like India, where a new category has been defined for the gig and platform sector, and a new law has been brought in. So platform worker, gig worker, platform work, all these have been defined, have been given a separate context and separate entity, which is outside the traditional employer-employee relationship or arrangement. Next. So in previous months, the ministry has entered into very elaborate strategic and in fact our stakeholder consultations and which has made this understanding for us the challenges that these platform workers are facing, which is as enumerated in the slide. There is a limited welfare benefits for the platform workers, which is one of the big and key challenges and focus area for the government. There is also issues related to payment transparency. Payment transparency, no, previous slide. Payment transparency. There are also safety concerns related to working conditions of the platform workers. There are also issues like unilateral and discriminatory terms of employment, which few platform workers have complained during our consultations. There is also algorithmic decision-making process and no human intervention in grievance redressal, which has been a very key area of concern for the platform workers while we discussed with them during stakeholder consultations. Next. So there are three areas where the government has taken initiatives in past years. We have tried to leverage the technology through our eShram portal, which is one of the leading example for the international communities. We have also made, as I was mentioning, stakeholder consultations, and also, of course, the Union Budget announcement 25-26. Next. While leveraging the facilities of eShram, which was developed in 2021, in October 24, we have launched the one-stop solution on the eShram portal that integrates different welfare schemes of government. So far, we have linked with 12 central government schemes, which will facilitate the registered unorganized workers on eShram portal to understand the eligibility, and also it will facilitate how they can be able to avail those benefits under these 12 central schemes. The effort is also on to incorporate other central government schemes and later on in the phase two, the state government schemes as well under the one-stop solution of e-shop. Sir, in September 2024, we have issued an advisory addressing to all our leading platforms in the country, requesting them to register on e-shop portal, and in order to make the registration process easier and for ease of doing business, we have also launched an aggregator module under e-shop portal in December, which has facilitated for easy onboarding. So we have requested the platforms to onboard themselves as well as onboarding the platform workers engaged with them. So as on date, as we speak today here, 10 leading aggregators of the country have been already onboarded on e-shop portal. So there are, the platforms operating in the country are varying in sectors with food and grocery delivery services, ride sharing, professional services like urban company, e-marketplaces, and logistics services. So various sectors are operating under this gig economy, which is one of the factors why the government is also taking so much of interest in addressing the issues faced by this sector and faced by the gig and platform workers. Next. The second initiative of the Government of India is about the stakeholder consultations, which has been very, very elaborate. We have consulted our line ministries, NHA, DFS. We have discussed with our knowledge partners, CII, NCAR, NITI Aayog, of course, has been part and parcel of our discussions, IndiaTech.org, and OMI foundations. In various forums, in various, you know, issues related to the gig and platform workers, we have had these stakeholder consultations. We have also discussed with our partners in the state governments and UTs. We discussed separately at various levels, at the level of Honorable Minister, Honorable Secretary, and at Joint Secretary level as well. We talked to the aggregators, leading aggregators like Zomato, Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Urban Company, Porter, and also platform workers associations. We had separate meeting with them. We talked to them on several occasions. What are their aspirations? What are the benefits they are getting? What is the what type of working conditions they face? And what are the aspirations for them from government? So similarly, we also talk to the international organizations like World Bank and ADB, following which we also set up a committee to with members from various key stakeholders to deliberate, to devise and recommend a framework for providing social security platform and gig workers. Apart from that, we also have set up a committee very recently of state level secretaries where 5 states like Telangana, Karnataka, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, and Rajasthan have been, that committee has been constituted to deliberate on issues related to gig and platform workers. I am also happy to note that we also have entered into a technical collaboration with ILO. Mariko is there. She has always been part of this, and we have requested ILO to guide us and advise us on some key issues related to gig and platform workers. Next. Coming to the Union budget announcement, which has been a very significant milestone in our journey so far, recognizing the contribution of gig workers of online platforms to this new age service economy. The Union Budget 25-26 announced the following: to register the platform workers on e-shop portal and arrange for their identity cards and also provide them with healthcare facilities under the PM Jan Arogya Yojana. This is a very huge, welfare announcement by the Government of India. It has always been a priority of our government to look into the welfare measures of the workforce in general and unorganized workforce in particular. And this budget announcement is just one example of such concerns. And I'm sure that with this landmark decision of the Government of India, the sector is and the workforce, the platform workforce is going to be benefited very heavily. Next. To give a very short brief on the Ayushman Bharat scheme, it was launched in 2018, and I am happy to know that it is one of the largest health scheme, a public funded health scheme in the world, which has the target of SDG and provides health coverage to most of the poor and underprivileged sections of our country. The facilities under this benefit is to provide health coverage in secondary and tertiary care of 0.5 million, that is 5 lakh rupees for family. It doesn't only cover the worker but also the family. So that way the health cover is protected, sir. And the target beneficiaries, of course, are poor and vulnerable. And for this segment, as announced during the union budget, we will be extending this particular scheme to the platform workers. One of the good positive aspects for the extending these schemes is that its portability, because platform workers mostly, and in fact, unorganized workforce in general in our country are migrant workers. They hail from one state but work in some other state. So the portability issue will not be faced if we are extending Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. They will be able to have access to close to 32,000 hospitals, across the country. Next. So these are the milestones. So far, 367.2 million Ayushman cards have been issued, and almost 50% of them are women beneficiaries. As I said, 31,206 hospitals, empaneled hospitals, will be accessible to the beneficiaries of this scheme. Recently, the government of India has also considered to extend this scheme to people beyond 70 years of age. So that is also, the coverage of this scheme is also again expanding further. And with this decision of Government of India, as announced during the budget 25-26, the coverage will grow further. We have been sorry, we have been trying to address to cover around 1 crore platform workers of this scheme, PMJ. So the coverage is even going to be expand even more. So with that, I pause here, sir. And as I can see, we can go to if there is any.
You started receiving so many questions.
Sir,
they have compiled it.
Right, sir.
So you can take it up.
So we can take up, sir. We can take up those questions. You can take up the PPT.
I think a lot of questions and a lot of curiosity on the part.
I may try to read, sir.
So you can, for the benefit of the panelists, you can read the questions.
So the first one is on the implication part. What are the expected implications, both opportunities and challenges of extending ABPMJ to online platform workers? These are policy related matters, sir. I request, sir, if you can first address, then we can request some other of our panelists to respond to it.
Interesting questions, and बिल्कुल बात ठीक है कि जो ये स्कीम आई है, it is definitely an opportunity in the sense that पहली बार हुआ है कि गिग एंड प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स को हमारे देश में आइडेंटिफाई करके और उनको किसी सोशल सिक्योरिटी फ्रेमवर्क में डाला है. So as you rightly told, that the scheme or the announcement has 3 components to it. The first component is registration, another is issuing identity cards, and third is after they have been identified to kind of extend the benefits of health scheme to them. So it's a big opportunity where this section of the society which didn't have any kind of social security cover will now be kind of recognized and will be benefited under the scheme. And this is a kind of beginning, as government has provided this, but there may be other benefits in near future. I expect that more and more, I would say, the schemes and benefit would be added to it. So this is a very good beginning and very strong beginning, I would say. And yes, for implementation of the scheme, there are a lot of challenges as right now we don't have the exact number of the beneficiaries. So what is the universe? And obviously now you have been trying to register the aggregators and the platform workers here. So because for the first time, it's a little challenging, but I'm sure that with a lot of capacity building of the platforms as well as the IET campaign, we should be able to register all the eligible workers, and it will be a wonderful gift to families of these workers and workers themselves to be part of such an initiative. So,
Right, sir. So thank you. I request Sri Abhay Mathur to please intervene if you have any points related to this question about the opportunities and challenges in extending this. Please.
Firstly, thank you for having me on this August panel. It's truly a privilege to be here. As has been mentioned earlier, I think the extension of PMJY to gig and platform workers is truly a groundbreaking announcement, which will go a long way in extending basic security benefits to this segment of the workforce. There are some clear benefits and opportunities. Clearly, healthcare coverage will make gig work more attractive and help with formalization of the economy, and hopefully in the long term also help in retaining gig workers on platforms. It will help significantly reduce the financial vulnerability this section of the workforce faces due to medical emergencies. Portability is a key feature which was spoken about, and this will help gig workers with continuity of benefits. And lastly, as this space evolves, there will be space for innovative public-private partnerships to help both the workforce as well as the aggregator. I think a few things we should watch out for. I think one is coverage, the overall awareness of the program, the benefits offered, the key reasons for gig workers to enroll themselves. All of these things, both the government as well as the aggregators have to play a big role in to improve awareness of the program as well as the benefits offered. There has been an element of transition. Many platforms today offer some level of benefit to the gig workers, and we'll have to transition them to the PMJY scheme. And lastly, eligibility. I think eligibility criterion for gig workers have to be clearly defined because it's possible that existing eligibility criterion do not cover a significant part of the population. Thank you, sir. That's my response.
Thank you for the brief summary, and I'm sure that this will definitely help us in formulating and this, implementing this project provisions. We have received another question from Ms. Ankita from EY. This is regarding the identification and registration of the platform workers. How does the ministry plan to identify and register platform workers given their diverse and often informal employment structures?
I think you're the right.
So this is like this, sir. I mean, there is of course a lot of challenges because one thing is that it's informal employment, and the other is that the gig economy itself is so diverse, as I was mentioning during my presentation. So it would be actually very difficult, but what we are trying to do is that we are leveraging the facilities that we have in Vishram. We are first trying to locate the aggregator. Of course, we know the leading aggregators of the country, sir, but there are also hundreds of aggregators platforms who are operating as new startups on different sectors in the gig economy itself. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to locate the aggregators, we are requesting them to get onboarded, and then requesting them to onboard their platform workers engage with them. So this is how we are trying to do. We will be issuing a separate UAL to each individuals, and since eShram would be the common platform of registration, any duplication, for example, if any particular platform worker is working in multiple platforms, then that duplication issues will also be addressed here. It will be easier for us to deduplicate the data. So even if someone is working in multiple platforms, the single UN will also hold good as far as extending platform, welfare benefit is concerned. So that is how we are trying to, identify them and register them and issue identity cards or UN numbers. Moving to the other question, it's again received from BBGNLI, Ms. Dhanya. The eligibility criteria for extending the benefits are what parameters will be used to determine eligibility for this scheme and how will beneficiary be finalized? This is also a key question because there is a difference between getting registered and getting the benefit of this scheme. So
I think let's take the view of the panelists that what should it be?
Yes, sir.
So you can nominate.
I request if Ajit Pai sir can answer this question. I hope you have heard the question well, sir.
I missed the second part of that question. There's something about penalization.
All right. I'll repeat, sir. What parameters will be used to determine eligibility for this scheme and how will beneficiaries be finalized?
Will be fine. Absolutely. So first of all, thank you very much for organizing this panel and having me on it. I'm very privileged to be part of this discussion. On the eligibility, I think what we have to ensure is that the scheme does not overly create a burden on the platforms that you're using to actually reach these workers. So eligibility will both be for the workers that will get the benefits, but also the channel to reach these workers, you have to ensure as a certain eligibility criteria, a certain minimum size, so that compliance burden is not very high, even when you're looking at getting to the e-Shram portal, etc. But when you're looking itself at the workers themselves, I think there should be and will be a minimum criteria of the amount of work that those workers have done, whether that criteria is going to be measured in days per month or days per quarter or days per year. You'll have to have some minimum threshold. Otherwise, it would be just unnecessarily getting people onto a platform and creating excess work without true benefits to make those benefits actually worthwhile. And then secondly, when we look at these workers, how much time they spend and effort they spend, we also have to show, like you've already mentioned, that there is some method to ensure that there's no dilution of duplication, which is if workers are working on 3 platforms but don't reach that particular metric in one particular platform, but across 3 platforms they reach it. I think we have to ensure as long as they cross certain minimum thresholds that they get these benefits. So from an eligibility perspective, we do want to make sure that everyone that does not have access and is a gig worker, as many of them as possible can be included. I think that's the goal of the scheme. But at the same time, anyone who's just trying it on or not being very committed towards being a platform worker, we have to ensure that they only become eligible after a certain minimum threshold is passed.
Right, sir. Sir, I will also, because I have received a pertinent and related question, which I would request Ajit Pai sir to also address this. This is on the income threshold, like whether it will be the benefits will be extended to one and all, or you are going to set some income threshold. The question is that will there be an income threshold for availing health benefits under the PMJ? If so, how will it be determined and verified?
So that also is an excellent question. I think the goal is that we want to be as comprehensive as possible to anyone that doesn't have access to these benefits right now and is a platform worker. We've already talked about the eligibility on the basis of minimum thresholds. So there, I think it's very clear anyone who's worked a certain minimum number of days on any particular metric of time will become eligible. But the income threshold on the higher side is also something that is relevant. This incremental benefit should not be wasted. So anyone that actually has, more than a certain income, ideally we would not want them to be benefiting from this particular scheme. But because in terms of implementation, it will be very difficult to determine the other income of the people of the professionals that are platform workers, it will be very difficult to be able to look at that upper income threshold or include it in this calculation. However, what we, I think, can do, and we have the ability to do, is to filter out anyone that is already in the Provident Fund network. A lot of people that are within the formal employment already will have additional sources of income from platforms. And so any redundancy or duplication that is there between these two, we can ensure, because that, sort of already provides a certain minimum income over there. That could be one metric to separate out the folks that meet the upper income threshold by saying that, those will not be eligible for this additional source, so that these funds that are allocated over here can be spread to those that need it the most.
All right, sir. Thank you for the very answer to those queries. Next, we have a question on from ESIC again on portability and continuity. The question is, given the fluid nature of platform work, how will this scheme ensure continued benefits when workers shift between platforms, leave the sector, or later rejoin? So, because due to the flexibility, they shift from one platform to another platform, they will leave the sector altogether, go to formal setup, and maybe come back again after some years. So, how to manage this? How this portability and continuity of the scheme can be ensured? I request if Abhay Mathur, CFO, because he is also one of the leading industry partner in urban companies. So, please, if you can address this.
Thank you, sir. So I think you've addressed the question already. The UN, which is the key identifier, will ensure continuity of platform benefits as people move, between platforms. I think the eligibility criterion Mr. Pai spoke about earlier will help determine continuity of benefits in case the individual worker decides to take a pause. So both have to be seen in conjunction. I think the one thing we need to just address is how will we ensure that family members of gig workers are also covered, either through the e-Shram registration or through some other mechanism. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I have another question received from BBJNLI on the budget and implementation strategy. What strategy does the ministry intend to adopt to implement this scheme as per the budget provisions? Sir, would you like to answer or
directly to you?
Okay.
I will.
So I work on the SAS supervision, so definitely I would take that advantage and try to answer this question. So I have briefly discussed this during my presentations as well. To extend this, because the scheme is being run by NHA, so definitely we have to, we are actually in line with talking of some collaboration with NHA to extend the scheme. But then registration, issuance of identity cards, and also identification of the beneficiaries. These three important tasks has to be done by us, by this ministry. So for that, we are leveraging e-Shram portal, as I was mentioning. We have already had a aggregator module for easy onboarding of platform workers and aggregators into our system. We will be issuing UAN card with which will be their identity. This is also a very significant step taken by Government of India because it is a way towards formalization, and because identity is very, very important, and this sector, workers in this sector were actually not having that. So giving them a separate identity in form of the e-Shram card will give them enough opportunities. It will have different plethora of opportunities for them in terms of, later on, government of the bank or some other agencies or other schemes. So it will be very, very helpful. At the same time, since it is this scheme is being launched for the first time for awareness creation, we are going to have a very elaborate IEC program, and we'll be also utilizing the help, utilizing our associations with the platforms, our sub offices, hundreds of offices we have throughout the country. We'll be also taking their help in awareness creation, and so that the registration of maximum number of platform workers and aggregators can happen on e-Shram portal, and we'll also at the same time be identifying the beneficiaries based on the eligibility criteria, which Ajit Pai sir was also trying to mention. So, sir, I move to the next question. This is again awareness and outreach. The question I may read out for the benefit of our panelists. what initiatives should be taken to educate platform workers about the scheme and encourage registration? IEC activities I already mentioned, but I would request Professor Barnali Bhandari from NCAER. He has already done a survey on this, and also Ayush Jha later on, who is manager public policy, Zomato Group, to intervene in for this question. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to this panel discussion. It is a privilege to be here. And I cannot reiterate how important this scheme is for platform workers, because when we did the survey, we found that platform workers only had accident insurance. So having PMJY covering them is a very important step up for platform workers. And I think the first step, of course, of onboarding platform workers, during the process of onboarding, I think it will be very important for companies, platform companies, to actually contribute towards orienting the workers, and also during the process of onboarding, telling them about the scheme, getting their UN number, which is the eShram number, to into the companies. It should almost be recommended to be mandatory, so that workers can be onboarded into the platform simultaneously, both in the eShram platform and the platform companies. I think this is very, very important, because the orientation process of workers, almost every platform company carries out orientation, and then during that process, it's very important that they are aware of their the benefits that that are owed to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Mr. Ayush Jha, can you please intervene?
Thank you, sir. Foremost, I would like to thank the Ministry for inviting Zomato to be part of this esteemed panel. It's a very humbling experience to be in such august company. Coming to the question, sir, I believe that in the platform economy, awareness and outreach requires a two-step approach. The first step has to be leveraging the technology that platform workers are using on a daily basis. An example of this is the various mobile applications that platform workers use that are developed by platforms. These applications can serve as a powerful communication tool because of the frequent engagement that these platform workers have. To drive awareness about eShram registration and PMJAY benefits, platforms can use, say, in-app banners, advertisements, regular push communications, notifications towards these workers, who can then be redirected to the government website, which is appropriate for registration and such details. In our experience so far, this approach has been very, very scalable. Secondly, we believe that on-ground engagement is very crucial to mobilize the network of delivery partners. Word to mouth plays a very, very vital role. Now, Zomato, in its capacity as one of India's largest platform aggregators, has been actively engaging in this regard. We have received very positive responses from the ground. We have set up advertisement posters in our rest points where delivery partners can come, they can rest and recharge, they can see these posters, they can be made aware of eShram and other schemes that are applicable. Just to add, these rest points are platform agnostic, which means that any delivery partner or any gig worker from any platform can come to that rest point and be made aware of such communications from the government's regard. That being said, I think I'm very thankful to the ministry, sir, which is working very closely with platforms towards the well-being of gig workers. And we hope that a cohesive and collective effort between the government and platforms can go on to make this scheme a very, very grand success. Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Ayush. It has been a collaborative effort of all the stakeholders so far, and I'm sure that we'll be marching ahead and doing some good for the welfare of the platform workers. I have received another question from Jitendra Kumar from DGLW, that is on role of technology. I will request Sri Ramesh Kalasam sir from the IndiaTech.org to respond to this question. How can technology be leveraged to streamline enrollment, track eligibility, and manage social security benefits efficiently? Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on IndiaTech.org today for this important discussion, and especially around the budget taking such a historic step for covering gig workers in terms of the scheme and coverage. So I think it's an important question, and technology holds the key for successful implementation and rollout of this whole scheme. If you look at technology per se, it has enabled the efforts of the government to bear fruit in multiple areas, and there is no brainer on that. It will not only help us streamline enrollment, track eligibility, manage social security benefits efficiently for gig workers. I think the eShram portal is a great start because it becomes the one-stop point for giving a 360-degree view of the gig worker. And considering the part that we are setting up the UAN, this will immensely help us get the accurate data and further help us in other decision making. And the most important thing is that the platforms are already working on this and seamlessly engaging in the back end and pinging and checking out deduplication and all of which is pretty important for rollout of the scheme to prevent leakages or misuse of any kind of facilities that are being given or will be rolled out in the future. Already, as Mr. Ajit Pai has already spoken earlier on a similar question, some of the gig workers may be already engaged in the formal sector, may be getting benefits under EPFO, ESIC. So what technology can do is also dedupe and manage by checking the eShram data with the other databases to eliminate duplication so that the rightful beneficiaries are targeted, the rightful beneficiaries get their coverage, and those who are already covered under some other schemes need not be covered under this scheme. And that's a decision point which technology can throw up. There are also other parameters. I think there was also a discussion on thresholds. We already have the income tax department having a 1% TCS deduction. So obviously, if somebody earns quite high through multiple sources of income, it will be visible in the data point that they have. This budget also, interestingly, for benefit of gig workers, has also increased the threshold for professional and gig. They were earlier in the same category. So the threshold has been increased to 50,000, which is also a good kind of a decision. The union budget also has, as I said, the TCS collection, and therefore we can use that also in going forward as an integration point. One other point which I also wanted to raise was that technologically there are also many such services which are being available in government platforms and government generated platforms like ONDC and others. So from a technology standpoint, the whole stack can be extended to cover a larger chunk of gig workers and see how contributions can be elicited from all these platforms. So in bottom line, a well integrated tech platform is critical for identification, eligibility, verification, tracking, benefit distribution, optimizing cost, and reducing administrative effort.
Thank you, sir. I'll require your expertise in addressing the next questions also. We have received a question from our CLC, Chief Level Commissioner Central. That's on economic and employment impact of this scheme. So the question is, what are the potential economic effects of extending social security to gig workers, particularly on traditional employment sector?
Well, I think it's an important question, and it is bound to attract traditional employment as well because we are extending benefit. So extending social security benefit for gig workers has a far-reaching, I would say, economic and employment implication. And we are a young population that is growing. You have a lot of people, youngsters, who are getting into the gig economy as well. Naturally, a large number of people who are entering the workforce will be on both the gig economy as well as the conventional economy. And what the platform and gig economy has done is provide new work opportunities, and which are very critical. And with the provision of social security, this has become more, I would say, this is getting more mature and attractive. Basic social protection is necessary basically for everybody in times of adversity, regardless of their socio-economic standing and so on. And with digitization, the gig economy has significantly expanded opportunities. So we would likely see a transformation in employment structures with not just online, but also offline workers who may want to get benefited through initiatives like eShram in the coming years. And with PMJY getting covered, the government decision as far as the extending to all eligible gig and platform workers, there is a likelihood that conventional sectors will also like to see their gig, so-called gig kind of engagements being covered in it. And therefore, it is very important that our framework, whether it is UAN, eShram, serve as critical guardrails in preventing potential misuse of resources while benefiting only those who are identified and eligible. And these efforts will, of course, safeguard workers to ensure that they are part of an economy which is stable, resilient, and at the same time takes care of their social kind of needs.
Thank you, sir. A very key point I may note is there going to be a transformation in employment structure. That is what you emphasized upon. Thank you, sir, for this brilliant answer to this question. Next, I have received another question from Mr. S.K. Mahanti from the CLC office. That's again on expansion of the social sensibility. I request Marico to have to give an international ILO opinion on this question, and also request Sheikh Salahuddin Saab to also pitch in after Marico. So the question is, beyond health coverage, what other social security schemes could be considered for platform workers? So the government has now addressed the health issues, which will be very soon implemented. But what are the other social security schemes that may be considered for the platform sector? That is the question. So Ms. Mariko Hoji, please, ILO.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in your invitation and the opportunities to speak on behalf of the ILO. And it's very important to mention that ILO has been promoting universal social protection and universal health protection as a part of universal social protection globally. And then indeed that this extension of PMJ to platform workers is certainly the important part that India is progressing to the path to achieve universal health protection in the country, which is, like step by step, like this PMJ to be extended to achieve universal social protection, universal health protection. And then which is also aligned to the ILO recommendation 202, which is a social protection flow recommendation. And then the health is considered as one of the 4 essential social protection guarantees in life cycle. And then going to the question about this beyond the health coverage, what would be the other social security schemes could be considered? I think it was also mentioned by the professor in the different session that in many other countries in the world initiate the extension of social protection to platform workers by introducing rather digitalized employment injury or occupational accident, in other words, insurance scheme, taking into consideration that particularly that food delivery platform workers are considered as one of the high-risk occupational groups for having employment injury. This is a fact-wise. Whereas that we as ILO, we recommend that the platform workers, not only the platform workers, but any other workers, including unorganized workers, shall have a comprehensive social protection coverage, namely 9 branches of social security listed in the ILO Convention 102, which is the minimum standards of social security. So this is ILO's standpoint that basically the social protection coverage should move towards the comprehensive social protection coverage. Whereas that in reality, it's also true that the extension of social protection, particularly to informal sector workers, including platform workers who are not yet formalized, remain as a challenge. So I would say that, from international experience point of view, that generally that the extension is going, extension of social security would be done by introducing employment injury insurance scheme. Whereas that there are some other countries which introduce some other schemes based on the different branch of social security categories. And then also, it's also related to this eligibility criteria, which has been discussed before, that apart from the income threshold, it's also important to mention that what each branch of social security has its own different nature of eligibility criteria, which would affect to the expansion of social security, because employment injury, for example, which has been introduced by many other countries to the platform workers, basically the eligibility criteria starts from day one. That if on day one platform workers have an accident, then they are supposed to be covered. Whereas that eligibility criteria does not happen on day one for the maternity insurance or maternity benefit schemes, and normally they require the contribution of the scheme before becoming pregnant. This is a standard procedure, a standard social security mechanism. So this eligibility criteria issues, which is related to social security branch to be expanded needs to be taken into consideration carefully. Over to you.
Thank you, शेख साहब. ILO पर्सपेक्टिव के बाद आपका व्यूज भी जानना पसंद करेंगे. तो सवाल ये है कि हेल्थ स्कीम का तो अभी प्रावधान भारत सरकार ने कर दी है, बट प्लेटफॉर्म वर्कर्स के लिए इसके अलावा कुछ और स्कीम का क्या आवश्यक है? अगर है तो क्या क्या एरिया में ये स्कीम दी जा सकती है, इसके बारे में थोड़ा चर्चा करें.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And already Matt has covered almost some the things, but I have two small 3-4 points I've just added. You know, the nature of work gig and platform workers has the life is very, workers spend with the social security and welfare protection with the framework, universal framework will, unique relationship between the employer-employer relationship. So that has missing in that area, but mostly PGMY scheme and EPFO scheme we are really welcome in this budget session. But how many states has accepted, that is the biggest challenge, because some states has implemented, some states are not implemented. That is the big point of view. Another thing is at the same time some the category of the gig and platform workers is not eligible some PMJY scheme. That is also workers has asking. This is the very good opportunity. Universal social security will be a good opportunity to workers, but at the same time workers has around the the only PMJY and EPFO scheme. We are not banned over that. We have to asking more the accidental coverage and health maternity, this thing also. Kindly include that thing is very, all the gig and platform workers is hopeful to benefit. And main specifically e-commerce and delivery workers when has driving the accident, meet to accident, the loss of pay is very important, because 3 months, 6 months as bed rest, taking by the bed rest. That is the majority, the 10-minute delivery is the mental and physical stress from the drivers, delivery workers also. Yeah, one more thing, tripartite, the platform, gig and platform workers, government and aggregators, we have to contribute the welfare fund. That is really, we are ready to parallelly move forward to this type of activity in the welfare scheme. That is also, we are as a workers voice, we have to ready to contribute some our side also. But the end of the time, the benefits, the mechanism of the benefits from all the gig and platform workers between the gig, nowadays we have two challenges will be there. Workers as confused. Some times we have to gig and platform workers using, sometimes as we are using platform based gig workers, sometimes as we are using from online based platform workers using. The multiple drivers and delivery boys and e-commerce workers or urban company workers has confusing, create a lot of confusing in the workers. My request to government, please look into this matter. Whatever the gig and platform workers, we have to use that draft bill. We can use that word only, because multiple times we have to multiple names we can use. This is the biggest challenge again, workers and aggregator companies. And lastly, sir, the social security system is ensure the long, sustainable gig and platform workers in e-commerce. Growing the economy will sustain the, the welfare of gig and platform workers. That is the only depend upon the workers and the government, the data. This is also very important. Government has looking into this matter. The first mile to last mile worker has benefited from the this all government schemes. That is only from the data. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheikh Salahuddin Saab, for this very elaborate intervention. The next question is related to the learning from global model. I again request Ms. Mariko Uchi from the ILO to intervene in this. The question is, are there international examples of social security for platform workers which can be adopted for in India's context? So any example of schemes being run by any other countries which we can adopt?
Thank you very much. I'd like to mention, like in a global context, first, like what are the discussions going on at the global level, and then the country level context, that what are the examples of some other countries doing, like concerning the extension of social protection to platform workers. At the global level, it's very important to mention that there is a G20 New Delhi Declaration which ensures the adequate social protection and decent working conditions for gig and platform workers. So this is a declaration by the G20 countries, but at the same time that it was announced at the time of the G20 New Delhi. So I would consider that this is also the very strong commitment by the Indian government for to ensure adequate social protection and decent working condition. Second global aspect is that ILO has been proceeding the so-called standard setting discussions. ILO is a minimum standard setting organization on labor issues, and then standard setting discussions on developing a decent work, extending the decent work to platform workers. This was decided by the ILO governing body to place this agenda for the International Labour Conference in June 2025. And then now currently this discussion is already going on, and then different reports, analytical reports are coming up every year until June 2025. And then until that time, that there are certain issues, which we cannot really answer, because like many things depends on the standard setting discussion. For example, there was an issue raised by the employment relationship, which would be touched upon in this standard setting discussion, whereas that there is elaboration already going on at the national level, as Dr. Jana mentioned, that there is a tendency in Europe having more inclined for employer-employee relationship, or employees considered as a dependent self-employed, which is not necessarily the self-employed, but the same dependent self-employed. Whereas that in Southeast Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, some extent Indonesia, they classify platform workers as more in the category of self-employed. Third category, as Dr. Jana mentioned, that like would be the kind of new employment category, like, which is very correct in my opinion, saying, because and then I think that Korea also falls into this category, because Korea has not defined clearly about employment relationship, whereas that they have already created the scheme, social security scheme. And developed and then already implemented this public social security scheme extended to the platform workers. So like in this respect, that India is taking at this moment some examples of some other countries, like whether like it will be co-financed, which branch of social security to be covered, whether it's going to be co-financed or the financed by the platform, or financed by the workers, like riders, or like or it would be co-financed, or it could be subsidized partially or fully by the government, and then PMJ is a part of is subsidized fully by the government budget. So like this is also the India model, which is quite different from the other countries. So in this sense, that there are many different development going on in the world at this moment, and then it's we fall into this discussion of employment relationship, but like still it's also possible to develop social protection system without going into the clarity of employment relationship, and then just to agree on what branch of social security to be extended, and then what would be the contribution mechanism, and then contribution mechanism to be fixed by two parties, or together with the government workers and then platform workers, platforms. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for very elaborate. I can see Dr. Sarayu Natarajan very patiently listening to all the panelists. Now I can request her for the intervention. There is a question again from DGLW from Mr. Sandeep. This is on the sectoral inclusivity. The question is, how will the government ensure that social security benefit cover platform workers across diverse sectors such as transportation, delivery, professional services, and others? So this question is basically for the government. I will pitch in, but from industry side, and of course as a researcher in this area, if you can intervene. After that, I will not speak. Please.
Thank you very much, sir. It is an absolute privilege to be a part of this esteemed panel and this discussion. One of the benefits of going later on is that some of the more difficult points have already been made. So I will exercise that privilege and lean on the points that have already been articulated. A few points to note, and I will bring empirical evidence from our work as well to the conversation. First is that in terms of the question of expansion, risks and concerns in different types of gig and platform work emanate from different parts. So, for example, in home-based work, which women typically do, there are health and safety concerns about doing this work at home. Whereas for ride-hail work, it can be somewhat different in terms of where the challenges originate. So, taking into account the sheer diversity in the kinds of work, is one criterion to pay attention to in the context of expansion. The second aspect is that in terms of understanding expansion, it is also important to realize that there are many other categories of work beyond the ones that are most apparent that are also gigified and mediated by platforms, and hence such as data annotation and labeling, some aspects of low-end design work, aspects of animation, all of which fall into the category of platform-mediated, atomized, or gig work, must also be taken into consideration in making these policies. And there is empirical evidence to suggest that many aspects of this kind of work also fall within what are being discussed as income limits. The third aspect is that expansion, and this point has been made by Sheikh Ji as well as Mariko-san previously, but it is not just about the sectors or about individuals within specific sectors. It is also about the kinds of protection. So while health might be the mainstay and the expansion of PMJAY is a laudable move in that context, it needs to go beyond to other areas, specifically maternity benefit, unemployment protection, etc. So all of these areas need to be paid attention to. It is also worthwhile to consider questions of self-identification for eligibility. I know there are complications around that, but that might be another mechanism to ensure that there is greater expansive coverage and more comprehensive coverage of all the people that are doing gig work. I must, in this moment, compliment my colleague Saujanya Sridharan, who is also joined. She's also an expert on platform and gig work. And Saujanya, if you have anything to add, please do so.
Thank you so much, Sarayu, and thank you, Mr. Jaina, for having us over here. I just want to add that, this Code on Social Security laid the foundation of a lot of today's discussions, and it's important to revisit those aspects to remind ourselves what should be the focus. The code not only furnishes what should be the universe of benefits that is extended to gig workers, but also what should be the financing mechanism for such benefits, right? And it becomes particularly important to think about financing in current scenario when you have different state governments coming up with their own models. So to revisit the basics would be an important first step. Thank you.
So thank you, and Sujanya, also welcome to the session. Thank you for your very short and very effective intervention in answering this question. I will very briefly address, because this question was generally addressed to the government's initiative. As we actually tried to answer during the presentation, we are actually not targeting sectors. We are targeting individuals. So that theory of how to address actor sectors is probably not very relevant for us. But then what we are trying to do is that we are, as I said, there is a presentation. We will be actually registering the aggregators, platform aggregators, and through them registering the platform workers. So one, the data that will come into our system is going to be already authenticated one, because the workers who are already working with the platforms will be entered into our system. So that is going to be one of our major plan of action. Of course, as the general policy of Eastern system, everybody is actually, they can self-register. Any worker can self-register on Eastern portal as well. But then for those registrations, will be again going back to the platforms for data authenticity. That is one. Of course, after registration, we'll be issuing iCards with specific UN numbers, which will give them some identity, and will help us actually administer, implementing these health schemes. So that is how we are planning. So in between, we received another question from DVGNLI. I request Mrs. Ashura Raman, because you were presenting a paper, a report, in fact, on gender aspects related to the sector. So this question is related to that. So I request your intervention on this. I read out this question. How can the scheme address gender-specific barriers to ensure that women in the gig and platform economy receive equal benefits and protections?
Thank you so much, Dr. Jaina.
From OMI, please. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jaina. I also personally thank the Ministry of Labour and Employment for inviting OMI Foundation and me to contribute not only to this dialogue, but also the entire nation building process. The gig and platform economy is reframing the role of women in both public and private life. This is something that we've observed at OMI Foundation through extensive primary research, where we've interviewed over 1,000 women across the country, performing all sorts of location-specific jobs within the platform economy. The platform economy, as we know, offers flexibility in work hours, location, and mode of engagement, and thereby enables more and more women to participate in their economy on their own terms, a shift from the rigid structures of traditional employment. Historically, labor force participation, as we all know, especially for women, has been constrained by a binary choice: household duties versus economic aspirations. But today, platform jobs allow women to work at will, monetizing their skills and assets at their convenience, whether through ride-hailing, food delivery, home services, or professional consulting. Platform work is rewriting the narrative for women's workforce participation. However, gender disparities in asset ownership, digital access, and social security continue to limit their potential and participation. This is where we strongly see that the extension of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana to platform workers will be a game changer. By providing 5 lakh rupees health coverage not only to the worker but the entire family, the scheme protects women and also empowers them to enter and thrive in the platform economy. How does all of this happen? I would like to submit that the PMJAY strengthens women's participation in 3 specific ways. 1, economic security and stability. 2, encouraging women in high growth sectors. And 3, portability for dynamic work patterns. What do I mean by all of this? In the first case, PMJAY covers health costs, reducing the financial burdens and allowing more women to see gig work as a sustainable income source. Second, PMJAY provides a safety net, making male-dominated fields, traditional occupations like ride-hailing, delivery, and skilled trades such as electrical and plumbing work also more accessible to women. And third, PMJAY is able to ensure continued coverage even if the women take career breaks or switch platforms, making it ideal for part-time and caregiving workers. To maximize its impact, PMJAY must do 4 things, in my humble opinion, sir. 1, ensure easy enrollment via platform apps, eShram portal, and the likes. Second, run targeted registration drives in partnership with women self-help groups, gig work collectives, and other civil society organizations, both online and offline. 3, include maternity and reproductive health benefits beyond hospitalization. And 4, leverage tech-driven awareness campaigns as well as offline campaigns to reach as many women workers as possible. By integrating gender-sensitive design in this manner, PMJAY can become more than just a healthcare initiative. It can become a springboard for women's economic empowerment in India's digital and platform economy journey, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. That is very elaborate, I must say, explanation and intervention to address this question. Mr. Aisha from Zomato Group, if you have any quick intervention, because we'll be also running certain time. If you have any quick intervention with your experience from the Zomato Group to address this question.
So foremost, it's important to understand that in the gig and platform economy, women face unique challenges such as safety concerns and caregiving responsibilities, among others. Addressing these barriers within welfare schemes is very crucial to ensuring broad accessibility. Now, in order to enable equal access, targeted measures are required. The government's initiative to encourage registrations through common service centers, we also know them as CSCs, is in the right direction. In its capacity as an aggregator, Zomato has actively supported this effort by providing CSC locations through physical pamphlets and periodical communications to platform workers in every city. We have always believed that gender should not be a barrier for undertaking platform work. Beyond registration, it is also important to raise awareness how healthcare schemes can address women-specific concerns. PMJAY, as you mentioned in the presentation earlier, sir, with 49% beneficiaries being women, it addresses gender-specific inclusive health concern through benefits like special packages, including maternity care. Now, such benefits included under the scheme should be promoted through targeted campaigns to overcome informational barriers. This can be better done by amplifying and partnering with the industry to help strengthen outreach and achieve inclusive participation in the platform economy for all genders.
Thank you, Mr. Aisha, for that very quick updates about the Zomato group. We have the next question from again Office of CLC, Mr. Varun Jha. This is about measuring impact. I mean, you come out with schemes, but how effective it is. So the question is, what mechanism will be put in place to measure the impact of social security scheme for platform workers to guide future policy decisions? Very important questions for policymakers in the government. But I request Mr. Avinav Mathur, CFO of one company, to have a very quick intervention on this.
Thank you, sir. You're absolutely right. I think what gets measured and tracked is what is effective. Again, as my fellow panelists alluded to earlier, the universal account number is critical to measure the benefits being rolled out. We can use this to measure, the people who benefited from the coverage, how often did they benefit and to what extent. A centralized dashboard can be created to track enrollment rates and claim settlement. Another measure could be a survey-based gig worker welfare index, which can be commissioned similar to the periodic labor force survey conducted by the NSO. This can help us get insights on awareness and accessibility of benefits, satisfaction levels on ease of registration, claim processing, and impact on financial security and well-being. These surveys can also be rolled out through the aggregator apps, where we can get quick feedback on how gig workers are seeing these benefits being rolled out to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, Dr. Sarayu Natarajan was speaking a little bit about the financing part. Here is a very full-fledged question from Mr. Sandeep Chaurasia of the DGLW office. And this question is, what financing models can be adopted to ensure the long-term sustainability of these welfare schemes? That is very important because schemes come and due to the and it becomes unsustainable due to lack of proper financial planning. So could you please intervene on this?
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Jaina. I think a few pointers that are relevant in considering the question of sustainability are the following. The first is that what we have learned, and we also have some research on that, which we're happy to share with the group, showing that there are different models of business that operate within the platform economy itself. And so to the extent that platforms are also playing a role in sharing the responsibility towards financing some of these schemes, it is important to pay significant attention to these models. So there are subscription models, transaction models, third-party models, etc., all of which have differential implications both on the ability to pay as well as the mechanism of payment. So paying attention to that is a very significant aspect. Second is that, and Mariko-san brought this up as well as Sheikh Ji, that workers are also open to opportunity to co-contribute and engage on some of these schemes. So these may also be considered in the context of questions around sustainability. Here, welcome would be standards around co-pay, safeguards, etc., which need to be put into place. The third, which surprisingly has not found mention yet, except Sir, Dr. Jaina, you bringing this up, which is the question of data sharing, which is a tricky challenge in the context of ensuring applicability of schemes to platform workers, many of whom are digital nomads, etc. So paying attention to data sharing modalities, particularly in the India data protection regime, is important. So considering the ability to continuously have access to relevant, timely data in order to ensure the implementation of the scheme is necessary. And sometimes workers work on multiple platforms, work in different ways. Sometimes they are not geographically tethered as well, and hence paying attention to the question of data sharing and doing so in a sustainable, privacy-respecting manner is also important. I'll pause here and hand back to you.
Thank you so much. So the next question again is from our Chief Labour Commissioner, Shekhar sir. It is on the industry participation. We are very two eminent, industry leaders. We can represent the industry here, Ramesh Kalasam sir and Ajit Pai sir. I request them to address to this question. The question is, what role can the platform companies play in contributing to the extension of welfare benefits and improving working conditions? So the role to be played by the platform companies in extending the welfare benefits to the platform workers and improving their working conditions. This is the question. I request first Ramesh Kalasam sir to address and then Ajit Pai sir.
Thank you, Jaina ji. I think, again, a very important question. Platform companies, they play an important role, and they are being a significant stakeholder in working along with the beneficiaries of the gig economy. These platforms have taken their due responsibility in extending on their own as well welfare benefits and improving working conditions for gig workers. While many platforms have their independent steps taken and they may be different from one platform to another, to address these challenges, the fact is that they have acknowledged it and they have extended many of the benefits. Of course, with the Code on Social Security and this important decision in the budget, this gets a boost. There needs to be a sustained collaboration between industry and the government, which is essential for universal access of social security benefits. What is critical here is that the access has to be and the coverage has to be universal, both for the benefit of the gig worker and those covered as part of the gig workers extension. And one other important thing is that the industry is also actively working with the government on the APIs and the pinging that is happening with the eShram, which becomes now the key focal point for not only a technology intervention, but also monitoring and ensuring coverage is given. So a key factor lies in achieving harmonious policy making and policy consistency across the country so that platforms can build with one focus in mind rather than spreading too thin with multiple people going in different directions, which is being addressed by the government and in the central government in a major way, also engaging with the states and so on. So the digitization of work opportunities by these platforms has actually ensured seamless extension of social security benefits, because now all of them from the informal world have come to the online world, although this will still be a challenge for those who are not identifiable as a platform but are operating in other platforms and so on. and need to participate as part of this process. Earlier, I've already mentioned about platforms in ONDC and so on. So to maximize the benefit, a continuous dialogue is necessary with all platform companies. And we at India Tech have been engaging with both platforms and government, facilitating these conversations to get the best out of gig economy. So my take is that there has to be a continued collaboration going forward between government and industry, as this is an evolving space.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Very quick intervention from Ajit Pai, sir, before we move to the last question.
So I'd like to actually dovetail the answer to this question, also addressing a little bit about the sustainable financing. I think you had Abhay Mathur also talk about the transitioning of the current sort of healthcare benefits, etc., that's provided by platforms onto this new sort of government-sponsored sort of healthcare benefit. So one, congratulations to the government for providing this benefit on a fiscal budgetary basis, which reduces the frictions to the platforms to be encouraging their workers to get onto the system. But rightfully, that question of sustainable financing raises on how long will the government do this and whether the costs that have been estimated by the government are accurate. So one of the things that industry can do, and I think it's been suggested by other speakers before, is dovetailing their own efforts and energies to on top of what the government is already providing. By that, I mean that this benefit, if it's a 5 lakh benefit for a gig worker and his family, if gig workers can also have higher incomes and higher expectations and higher healthcare eventualities. So one of the things that can happen is that they dovetail additional insurance on top of what the government minimum is provided to try and also make sure that the scheme itself is utilized more and the others dovetail on top of it. The second, I think, thing where we can help out, even though this is a fiscal direct expense, is to create a little bit of a cushion, what you'd call a fund. That would be a cushion to ensure that payments are flowing very freely to the hospital system, etc. And there's a cushion in case the budgetary expense goes, the amount of time it takes to get these additional sort of funds, etc., can create issues. And this cushion can come through a sort of copay as well as a platform participation in addition to what this is. This is not an immediate need right now, but when you're looking at long-term sustainability and also engagement with the healthcare side especially, but social security overall, of greater participation from platforms, then there should be some ownership and participation from the other side over time to make this more sustainable, and then those numbers. But that structure, if it comes in with a fund, some kind of cushion up front, it's not purely fiscal consolidated fund of India, there's a little bit of a cushion there that can help a lot in alleviating some of those issues and also ensuring that the platform can continue to subsist regardless of the budgetary resources in the long run. And this is a useful tool, I think, for the industry to help out with and structuring all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have 3 more questions, but due to paucity of time, I'm sorry I will not be able to address those. But one from Mr. Saurabh Chatterjee on uncle delivery. That question I'll quickly address. The question is, what percentage of earning will workers and platform companies contribute, and how will it be determined? So we are discussing today about the extension of PMJ Health Scheme to the platform workers, which the government has announced in its budget, and this will be funded by the government. For this, we are not foreseeing any contribution from the platform aggregators nor from the platform workers. So with that, I am happy, sir. We got a very distinguished panel of experts who very pertinently addressed the questions raised, and I'm sure that this will definitely help us in finalizing and giving fine tune to our initiative of implementing the PMJ scheme for the platform workers. With that, I have this honor to request Joint Secretary sir to conclude the session with his remarks. So that we can also go to the next session, which will be addressed by the Secretaries and Honorable Ministers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jaina, and thank you so much, all the esteemed panelists. Let me admit that the session has actually gone beyond my expectation, and thank you so much for your participation. So some of the key things which you have mentioned, and I would like to recapitulate. Mariko-san, thank you so much for taking us through what is happening globally and what minimum standards ILO has set for this. So it will be definitely helpful. Obviously, government has given a wonderful scheme, but however, we will add up to in times to come. We will add up to this scheme and we'll make sure that we fulfill the wish list. Sheikh, thank you so much. You represent these workers, and it was very encouraging to see that everyone is trying to kind of pitch in and contribute to make sure that the workers, platform workers, get their due and all the social welfare and social protections needs. Abhijit, thank you for taking us to the opportunities and challenges and how we can kind of use these challenges, overcome challenges to kind of get to a best of the scheme to the workers. Rameshji, as usual, you have been given wonderful insights and have also told that how it can be disruptive for the traditional businesses and how it can actually help and both the things can go together. I know that you have been doing wonderful work already by providing some of the benefits to the workers and you put for the ideas how can we effectively roll out definitely by collaborating with the platform. So it was very insightful. Then we had Professor Banali, and it was again wonderful insights about how can we have a very ambitious timelines to kind of reach out to the workers and we want to provide these benefits at the earliest. So your inputs, how can we effectively reach out to them, are really great. Saryuji and Sujanya, we talked about different business models and how should we take care of different kind of business models before we ask the platforms to contribute when we come to maybe add-ons to this particular scheme. But as far as this budget announcement is concerned, we are not expecting any kind of contribution from the platforms and the workers. And last but not the least, Ajit Bhaiji, thank you for your views on what should be the eligibility criteria and the income, about your views about income threshold and all, then your input that rather than going into this kind of income calculation, it would be better that if we use EPFO and ESI data to run the eligibility say effectively and efficiently. So thank you so much, and these views have been wonderful and will definitely help us fine-tune the scheme and give the best package to our booming platform worker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That is a very beautiful summarization of the entire session, and you have been really very economical, sir. I can watch at exactly 4 o'clock. We are going to end this session, and I'm really thankful to the esteemed panelists for sparing your time, sharing your thought with us, and I'm sure that this is going to be very helpful when we are going to implement the scheme and also drafting future possible schemes for the platform workers. I request Dr. Natarajan to please share her study report on financial models that she was mentioning. We'll go through, and I'm sure that we'll also get some very valuable input from that as well. So with that note, I once again thank you all the honorable panelists here, esteemed guests, and all the attendees for sparing their time and participating in the entire session very actively. Thank you so much.
And thank you. I left, you were left out, but at the same time, your views regarding how can it be made more inclusive really, really great and will be very helpful for us.
Right, sir.
Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.